All right, what's going on, boys? Welcome in. NASCAR goes to Vegas this weekend. It's the Pennzoil 400, obviously, normal breakdown show. Coop and I do every Saturday for the Sunday Cup race. Coop, what's going on, my man?
Oh, not much, man. I see that the Kyle Busch sign has disappeared.
I'll tell you what, it's halfway to the kitchen to make the trash. It's halfway. We'll see how it goes. My guy is just a shell. I don't know what's happening. I mean, crashes the car in practice. I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, so takeaways from last week. What'd you think?
I have a bunch, man. Why don't we start with some of yours? Because I have a bunch.
Well, if I can describe this NASCAR season in one word so far, it's parity. I think that there are a lot of cars that I would not have expected to see run in the top 15 so far. Granted, it's really early. We're like 3-4 races in total, and almost all of them were on one track. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. These next-gen cars, pit road problems are an issue when we're betting tires. What happened to Ryan Blaney last weekend was absolutely criminal. The kid will lose 8 spots every pit stop. So we still have pit road issues to make out. And my takeaway is there are even like one company cars are cracking the top 10 in qualifying. I mean, so yeah, parity for me is my takeaway.
Right. So I have parity as one of my takeaways. Now, do you believe that parity is coming from the car, or and the speed and the drivability of it, or do you believe it's coming from wrecks?
A couple things. A driver like Tyler Reddick that you and I are high on, we would expect a driver like that. He's going to be good this year. Now, granted, nobody talked about him all that much last year besides me and you. But then, you see other cars that Eric Jones running as well as he did last week. I didn't think that he would. Now, I think it's mainly the next gen cars, in my opinion, more so than drivers, but not like drivers like Tyler Reddick. But other drivers, I think it's the car. And even Chase Elliott admitted, as good as he ran today in practice and qualifying, he is like, we have so many things to learn about this cars. Nobody's comfortable yet. Everybody feels like they're on ice. And so, yeah, I think it's the cars mainly.
Okay. What other takeaways? Anything else that you had?
I mentioned road. I mean, I don't know how much we could take away. They've been to 2 tracks so far.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So exactly, you're right. So it's just 2 tracks. It's really just one track of what we're going to see for the majority of the year when it comes to type of racing. So these are in no particular order. All right. But, parity, which was one of them, which we already talked about. Obviously, the tire, they still have a lot of tire issues. There's nothing we can do about that. It is what it is until, they figure out, how to fix the tire and make it more stable, I guess, or whatever, We only saw one blowout today. We saw a couple cars get loose here and there, but, nothing drastic like what we saw in California last week. So, this surface is probably, mid when it comes to tire wear, where last week it was really abrasive, so that could have really attributed to it. So just got to keep watching it. But the tires, they've got to fix, and they haven't done anything this week to where if you blow that tire, you're going to go down several laps because they're afraid to tow you. So that's an issue they've got to fix also. But another one that I had was Toyota. Toyota sucked last week.
Yeah, they were bad.
They were horrible. And, they attributed it to their cars being overheated and things like that. So they've gone back this week and they've changed the grill on the front of their car to hopefully, work on that. But Toyota was not very good last week, and that's something to keep an eye on. Chase Elliott hit that wall at the beginning of the race, and it wasn't no love tap. He hit it fairly hard, and he obviously went down due to all the cautions and everything. He was able to get his laps back, but he had really good speed.
Yeah, and now I say parity, but with 10 laps to go in that race last weekend, Hendrick was right back to running 1, 2, 3 with 10 laps to go. So, but you know what I mean, though.
So, I think that's a plus. So, if they hit this wall like they did, with Elliott, it doesn't mean that their day's dead like last year. This new carbon body and all that type of stuff, whatever you want to call it, is doing much better so far and allowing the drivers, to continue more competitively, so to say, than last year. So I looked at a lot of stats after that race last week.
Okay.
And I hope to never, ever, ever in my life see a race like that again. Because I'm not quite sure what happened. But when you look at the stats of the top 10 drivers, the drivers who finished in the top 10, it was eye-opening. Because a lot of drivers that finished in the top 10 were horrible throughout the entire race. And it just goes to show how quickly you can gain and or lose spots with this car. So, for instance, Austin Dillon, who finished second, he was passed 22 more times than he passed cars in the race. His average driving position was 16th, and his driver rating was 82.9. It's by far the worst ever driver rating that I've seen for a driver to finish in second place.
Well, you know what
53% quality passes.
Last week felt like a lot of the cars that we thought would be good would drive up through the field up to a certain point, but just couldn't crack that top 3. Like Byron, he kept. No, it wasn't Byron. What Joey Logano, right? Yeah, he kept slowly through the day. He kept progressing till the point where he got up there. Also, I think there were a couple late wrecks.
But I don't think the wrecks really moved these people up. They gave them the opportunity to move up, but there wasn't a lot of attrition from those wrecks, so to say.
And it looked like the driver that had the best car in the race last week shit the bed. I mean, Tyler Reddick had the best car in that race for a long time before his car crapped out on him. What happened? He blew a tire?
Yeah, he blew a tire.
Yeah.
But I think he took out, or not necessarily he took out, but in that accident, probably the second best car too. William Byron ran into him.
Yeah.
So, but look at like I was talking about, Eric Amarola, who finished in the top 10. He was passed 24 more times than he passed cars. His average pace differential was 17th.
It could just be a weird race,
Kevin Harvick had an average race of 20th. He drove 20th in that race, ended up with a top 10. He ended up with a 64.7 driver rating. That's like the worst ever I've seen for a top 10, next to Kurt Busch, who had a 63.5. So, when you look at quality passes, Kevin Harvick had 14% of his passes were quality passes. And what quality passes are cars that you pass that are in the top 15, just not cars that you pass. So, I'm not really looking at, the placement of the cars from last week, more so the stats. Like Ricky Stenhouse last week, he finished, I think, 10th or 11th, but he passed 20 more cars. He had a driver rating of 91. 59% of his passes were quality passes. Like I would much rather play a rookie Stenhouse or take my chances with a Stenhouse than like an Amarola or a Harvick or a Dillon, a Suarez, drivers like that. So, and then my last takeaway from last week, and it kind of goes into what we saw today in qualifying. Look at the age of the drivers who were fast last week. Look at the age of the drivers who were fast today. They're all 30 or less in age. So are these cars just easier for them to drive because they're not as used to the old car as some of the quote-unquote veterans? Or, you know, are the veterans just being more safe and, you know, they don't want to wreck a car or whatever it might be? But, man, these young guns
Well, I think, you know what I
are
think
really
it is?
stepping up.
I think these young kids are probably they didn't have all the experienced drivers like Kevin Harvick did and Kyle Busch on the old cars that they're used to. So I think these young kids are more pliable. I think it's probably easier for them to mold into these new cars than those old veterans, if I had to guess.
Oh, I agree. But take a look at the age of these drivers. The drivers that are doing well right now are the young drivers, you know, very young drivers. You know, Chase Briscoe surprised the daylights out of me last week, man. I did not think Stuart Haas had anything in it, you know, and he went out and he ran a heck of a race, you know, and he ran well today. Same with Cole Custer last week. Custer wasn't as good today, but, you know, Cole Custer and Chase Briscoe are starting to make themselves, although it's a small sample size, the face of Stuart Haas. And, you know, making Kevin Harvick an aftermath. You know, I mean, I know you don't believe me, but I told you last year.
Afterthought, not aftermath.
Well, whatever, you know what I mean. But you didn't believe me last year. I told you Kevin Harvick hit that wall and he was done. And you were like, no.
We'll talk.
I still don't know if you believe me.
Listen, we'll talk at the end of this year. Okay. If that's the case, then I'll concede.
So you're going to have 2 years for it to be a truth, even though he hasn't won a race in over a year.
2 years. I need 2
And not only that, he's been slow every daggone race, and he just backdoors top tens. So I have another driver I'm going to add to that list probably pretty soon.
Don't you dare say it. Don't you dare say it. Don't you dare say that M&M car. I'll tell you that.
No, I still have some belief in him. But it's a good. It'll hurt your feelings.
Let's talk about Vegas. Now, I sat and I watched the practice and qualifying. My thought was this: if you asked me, who were the two cars you thought was going to win the race tomorrow, I would probably say Larson and Elliott. But in saying that, after watching practice and qualifying, I think there's going to be a couple Toyotas that are going to be competitive, and I think Penske's going to be competitive to a certain point. Now, I will not bet Ryan Blaney again this year until I see his pit crew get their shit together, because last week was a joke. So
it wasn't his pit crew. There was an issue with the car, man.
Listen, bro, whatever it was. And if it's still going on, I'm not betting them. But I do think that there are going to be a couple Fords that are going to be competitive. I think there'll probably be a couple Toyotas competitive. But I give the edge to Chevy and specifically Hendrick. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two best cars, in my opinion, out of the practices and qualifying that I saw today, I think there's four that are clearly top notch. You named three of them: Larson, Blaney, who you said you would never bet.
Not yet. Well, I didn't say ever. I said not yet.
And you know, that boy of mine drives that Toyota.
Chris Bell. He's got a fast whip. Yeah, he's got a fast whip.
But the fourth one that I would put in there, and it just
who would it
goes
be?
to show, man.
Ty-
Week, and
Tyler Reddick?
We're starting this week off the same way. What did you
Not
say
Ricky
last
Stenhouse.
week?
Not Rick. Who?
What did you say about your boy last week?
My boy? What? Byron or Bush?
Byron.
Oh,
I'm
Willie
overlooking him.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Damn good fast car today.
That's a great point. I said on the live betting show while the race was going on, I don't know why we completely overlooked Will Byron last week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. We shouldn't have. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's fair. You're right. I like that.
Yep.
So 3 of the 4 cars you mentioned are – so 3 of the 4 are Hendrick cars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which means that's just a lot of the same old stuff, man. If they're just going to – what do you think about how do you approach Kyle Busch now with the backup car?
Did you see his backup car?
I did. It was like it looked like gray and metal. What was going on?
It was a spec car, man, of parts that they were going to use on the other cars if they needed them to. So, it'll be fine. They just got a lot of damn work to do on it, man. They got to put the real parts on it and some of the better parts on it, and they got a lot of work to do. But I think they'll be fine.
You know what I thought was interesting? Tyler Reddick, who qualified very well in 7th, absolutely, he shit all over his car when they interviewed him. He's like, we have a long way to go. Yeah, he's like, we have a long way to go. I don't really feel good about it. But in saying that, he almost qualified in the top 5.
Well, and in saying that too, he's had the dominant car in 2 of the 3 races with the Busch class, and then last week. So 100%. His car might be a little bit off of what he was filling it for, the first 2 or 3 races of the year, which is something, to keep an eye on. When, you can lean a lot from these drivers when they're positive and they're negative comments. So, I would not say that was a positive comment in Reddick's eyes.
All right. So if we take a look since 2016, Brad Keselowski's been the best Cup car in terms of average finish, 4.7. Right now, obviously he's at Roush. What do you think he does? He didn't look bad in qualifying.
He'll drive around. I don't think he'll be very good. I don't think he's nothing I want to bet on him.
Truex and Logano were tied for 2nd in average finish since 2016, 6.2. What do you? I think Logano's always strong, man. When is he not strong? He's always strong.
Yeah,
but Marty, who you and I lauded for being so good at 1.5-mile tracks, has shit the bed lately on 1.5-mile.
I might have a new name for Marty.
Don't say it. He's not there yet. He's not there.
I'm thinking about it, man.
Coop, you want to put these people in the retirement home at like 35. How old is Martin Truex?
He's close to 40, maybe around 40. So, but, Marty is not far from Kevin Harvick land.
41.
In my opinion.
Yeah, he's 41.
He's not far from Kevin Harvick land. If he's not already there, I might be late in pulling the plug on him. So,
all right, so let's take a look at the bets. So before practice and qualifying, Larson was 5-1. Now he's 4-1. Logano second.
This is DK, right?
Yeah, this is DK. Logano and Elliott, they have tied for 2nd at 8-1. Ryan Blaney 10-1. Denny and Byron 12-1. Reddick 12-1. I love to see Reddick slowly creeping up. Chris Bell 16-1. Kyle Busch in a backup car 14-1. Marty at 18-1. Briscoe and Bowman and Harvick at 20-1. Keselowski and Dillon at 25-1. Cindric 25-1. What do you feel like wetting your beak with? if you were going to take a pre-race outright?
If I were to take a pre-race outright out of any of them drivers,
would it be Willie B at 12-1? Who? Elliott?
Possibly. That Willie B would be the smart bet. All right, from like up at the top of the board. All right, that I would possibly wet my feet on at 12-1. But when you're looking for value, I would take some shots on Austin Cindric.
You put that kid under a half win, Coop. You realize?
I did, yeah. And
he looks pretty good in that 2 car. He looks pretty good in that deuce.
Yeah, he does. And I got to get it out of the mindset that the car is better than he is. And he's driving one of the superior pieces of equipment. All right. And it's not that Cindric is bad.
That's just not a nice thing to say, Coop.
But it's not that he's bad by any means. But, like, I think the books also are not looking at it from that perspective. The perspective that I was kind of looking at it from last week. Like, he's in a really, really good piece of equipment.
We know that. He's in a great whip, okay? But, I mean, we're talking about a kid that dominated the X Series for 2 years. Like, I mean, he's strong. He's very good.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would take my chances at 30-1. I'm pretty sure you can get them on other books at 30-1.
Are you going to say Ricky Stenhouse?
No, Cindric.
Oh yeah, he's 25-1 at DK. What do you think?
You get him at 30.
Do you think Eric Jones looks as strong as he did last week?
Yeah, he did not look as strong today as what he did last week.
No, he did
the
not.
The driver that, you know, was able to hold his ground, I think, was Ricky Stenhouse. You know,
I agree.
He didn't qualify well. He didn't practice well, but he said that, and he's got some things he's going to change and so on and so forth. He did run a good, qualifying lap. So
yes.
He was the one who was able to, and then obviously Chase Briscoe was the surprise. Last week that was able to hold his own.
The books respect Chase Briscoe 20-1.
Right. Yeah.
So Alex Bowman is the only Hendrick car we didn't talk about. What do you think about Bowman?
I think he's going to be solid. I think the longer we see green run flags, the better he's going to be and get. Bowman is really good on them long runs. And, he has the ability, to have a really fast short run car too. But more or less you see it on the long runs. He snuck up in there last week, and he had some really good stats to back up his number. Unfortunately, he was caught up on an incident at the end. But, I would not discount him. There is a one bet I'll go on. I haven't placed it or anything, but I'm looking at placing it potentially. It's on DK. It was like their weekly specials or something like that. And it was which car manufacturer which team will have the most drivers finish in the top 10.
I saw that. That was one of my screenshots that I was going to put up for us.
Yeah.
I saw
Rick Hendrick was 125. I think Gibbs was next at like 200, and Penske was third at like 300 or something like that. And I wouldn't, any race out there, all four of them can finish in the top 10. It's a hard thing to do, but I would not put it past that 3 of the 4 finish in the top 10.
Let me tell you,
I don't think Gibbs is a bot in that. I think Penske's the one that would worry me.
The one quote basically that I heard from all the drivers today that scared the shit out of me was Kyle Larson in so many words saying, I have the best long run out here on this track, and it's not even close. He basically said that in so many words, and that's terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
That's terrifying because he's 4-1.
But you got to also remember that, Kyle Larson also admitted last week that he did not have the best car.
Yeah, so that means
teammates in his mind had the best car.
Right.
So,
what was the fallout? What was the fallout between Elliott and Larson? With
I haven't heard much about it. I know Rick Hendricks has some meetings with all 4 drivers. What was said, I have no idea.
Okay.
But it'll be swept under the rug and move on, and we'll see. Basically, the spotter was the one that took responsibility for it and said that I didn't do my job, and I was more focused on Logano, and Elliott snuck up, and I didn't say anything about Elliott, and Kyle Larson was left out there hanging just to do what he wanted to do, knowing with basically no support from his spotter. So
I'll tell you what, man. Last year when I just started, both of us really did. We started taking Larson at like 5-1 pre-race, just like almost every race, because he's going to be there, and you're going to see even money on him halfway through the race, and just forget about that bet. And if he wins, he wins. If you have to get on somebody else, you get on somebody else. I almost feel like we're a couple races away from better get on Larson at 5-1, and then we'll live bet from there. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's that good.
Yeah, he's really good. Really
Any
good.
top? All right. Good. Any top 5s stick out to you?
No.
No, you took a good look.
Yes. I didn't like a lot of the bets that were out there this week. I thought the books were pretty sharp and everything. So,
what would Chris Bell have to be to crack the top 5? You think 2-1? He's plus 130
for a top 5.
Yeah, plus 130. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, we probably could have got that pre-race, pre-qualifying. Excuse me.
Yeah. Top 10s. Anything stick out? Cindric minus 110.
I think you can get him at other books at plus 115. I think FanDuel you can get him at plus 115, and that does not
plus 115.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Yeah,
I mean, the kid's 3 races into his career, but
I don't hate that bet. It's not my favorite, but I don't hate it.
So Tyler Reddick has now graduated to the point where he's minus 240 to make the top 10. We were getting him at like plus 125 last year.
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right. Any matchups you like?
There were some groups that I had my eye on.
I'll tell you a matchup I like. I like Joey. I like Joey Logano heads up against that beater Jalopy that they're going to put Kyle Busch in at minus 118. I don't mind that.
I just hate paying them minus numbers in NASCAR, man. I don't know. I don't mind it at all, but
I mean, they're one-on-ones though. You got to realize.
I know. I hate it, man. I hate it. There were no individual matchups that took my eye, but on MGM there was a group one. All of them were plus 270s, and it had Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, and Austin Cindric.
I'll tell you what I'm probably going to bet. I'm probably going to bet Group A and take Larson and Elliott at 2-1 and plus 270 over Logano and Hamlin. Good chance I'm betting both of those to scrape a unit.
Logano is the wild card in there, man.
Yeah, he's the wild card. I agree. Yeah. But you know what though? I'll take those 2 guys heads up against Joey.
Mm-hmm. But I like Austin Cindric to beat Kurt Busch, Kez, and Austin Dillon. There was another one on DK, Austin Dillon, Bell, Kurt Busch, and Cindric. I really can't bet that now with the performance that Chris Bell put on. So
yeah,
probably one that I'm going to bet, and it's probably my favorite group one. I think it's on DK. You might want to look and see if it's changed or not, but I think it is.
What?
It's Daniel Hemrick and Justin Haley at plus 270 against Todd Gilliland.
I don't even have them at DK.
All right, then it's on MGM against Todd Gilliland and Michael McDowell. Gilliland and McDowell did not look good today. Gillen's got a lot of his team missing, due to some issues. Hemrick and Haley have been solid so far this year, and I think that one of the two of them, you can scrape a little bit of money if you play both of them to win that.
DK has Tyler Reddick at plus 150 against Bowman, Keselowski, and Harvick. That is surprising.
Who's the other one? Bowman, Keselowski, and Harvick. It was 200, I think, if you look at your screenshots, wasn't it?
Let me look.
I think he was plus 200.
Yep. He was plus 200. You're right.
Yeah. How far down did Bell go in that Group D?
He was plus 200. Oh, plus 250, yeah.
He's plus 200 now? All right.
He's plus 180.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, plus 180.
Can't bet that. But I do think I'm going to go with the Hemrick and Haley as long as the odds are the same when MGM comes back up. I don't think they're up yet. And then I had one more bet that I was possibly looking at. When you look at the manufacturers, yeah. And it was Ford. And I don't know if I'm going to make that bet now because Chase Briscoe, is in the equation, and I wasn't expecting him to be in the equation. But it was top Ford.
Oh, you're not talking about – are you talking about taking Ford at plus 200 as the winning manufacturer?
Oh, no. This is just top Ford.
Oh, okay. Who were you going to take?
Austin Cindric.
8-1.
Oh, he was 1,000-1. So, but I was thinking before it was against Blaney and Logano. Now you got to add in Briscoe. And it was already risky going up against Blaney and Logano. But again,
right.
I just think that number of 10-1.
Blaney might not even that Coop. Okay. We'll see.
That number in that car, I thought was just too much value.
I agree. That's like, if we're being real, I know now they're next gen cars now, but that 2 car was the best car at Las Vegas since 2016 when Keselowski was in it. So, right. Yeah. All right. What about top Toyota? Anything stick out?
What's Christopher Bell?
3-1.
So he could have been like 6 or 7-1, but prior to qualifying. So I'm not going to take that. Top Chevy is just too many Chevy drivers. You got all the Hendricks. If I were to throw anything on a Chevy top driver, I would throw it on William Byron because you could probably get him for $600-700.
They're down right now. I don't have top Chevy.
Okay.
The one Toyota we didn't talk about, Denny Hamlin. What do you expect from him tomorrow?
He'll probably ride around the track and finish in 6th, 7th, or 8th. I don't know. I don't know if he has the top line speed to compete with those 4 drivers that we had before. And you could probably put Chase Elliott in there as a 5th. So I don't know. I think a top 5 for him would be stretching it. He would have to have some, help, I think, along the way.
All right. Well, Coop and I will be live tomorrow for subscribers.
So you got any bets that you're going to place, man?
Yeah. I'm definitely going to give out the scrape in Group A. I'm going to take Kyle Larson at plus 200 and Elliott at plus 265 to beat Logano and Hamlin. I am high on Joey this week, like I am most weeks, even though I hate him. But I'll take my chances because I really think it's probably a 2-on-1 at plus 265 and plus 200. I'll take it. So I'm going to go with the Group A scrape, taking Larson and Elliott. That's the play I'm going to give out on the show. What do you got?
Mine is on MGM. It's Rick Hendrick win plus 150.
Okay. Rick Hendrick Motorsports wins plus 150. Yeah, I like it. I mean, how do you not like it?
Drivers. Right.
In this day and age, how do you not like it? So
I mean, it really, like when you look at it, like Chevy in general, I think is minus 110 or minus 115, depending upon where you look, to win the race. And if you can get a Hendrick, which is Chevy, at a plus number, I think it's good because Tyler Reddick or Austin Dillon would be the only other Chevys possibly who could win. I think Trackhouse still has a little bit more work to do, and it's not the right place for them. But basically, I think you're just getting a better number if you take Rick Hendrick to win versus Chevy to win.
Yeah, I like it. All right, boys. Those are the two plays. We'll be live tomorrow for subscribers of the Kegcasts. If you want to subscribe to the live betting show, you could do so. It's basically $10 a week. Head on over to runpuresports.com. Get the live betting package. We go live 3 or 4 days a week. I'll be live from 6 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the morning tonight. Coop and me will be live tomorrow from like 3 to 7 or 8 whenever the race is over. You guys can check that out over at runpuresports.com. And other than that, I hope your action runs pure this weekend, boys. Coop and I tomorrow morning will be on the other NASCAR show on the DFS side at 11 a.m. on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel, breaking down more NASCAR with Holden and who else? Maddie?
Yep.
And Matty Ice, my guy. All right, so good luck this weekend, boys. I hope you crush. We'll see you soon. Later.